And we used to find that our reviews would be spent on finance, the different parts of finance, actually trying to agree on what the financial results were for the last month. And then an hour later, everybody trudges out, a bit fed up, because we haven't actually done any of those parts. We could have waited until we had it all perfect, until we'd defined everything. But we made a conscious decision that the first few cycles won't be perfect. They will be a bit pants. We're going to have to learn by doing. And that's one of the key things, I think, that we told people to expect. It won't be perfect, but it will get better. So that built a level of patience with the process, rather than people saying, you've showed us this is a great process, we've come to the meeting, we didn't get much out of it, we're not coming back next time. Yeah. So you had to set that expectation. Another key learning that we took is the reconciliation. So solving those cross-functional challenges in the matrix, it isn't just a meeting at the end of the cycle, it really has to happen all the time. Okay? So once we recognised it was really a process and an ongoing activity, we were very fortunate. The CEO said, yeah, get that. Go and get me 4 very senior managers, 1 per function, and all they're going to do is facilitate the process, 1 per category rather. We came back from that a little bit and said, well, we've got planning managers, so we used the planning managers to spend half their time doing the planning for their category, the supply chain planning, but recognising the other 50% of their time is just doing the reconciliation and that facilitation of problems, making sure everybody's aware of the challenge and the latest thinking. Flying fish. So many years when I was working for Avon Cosmetics, the IT department never delivered what we asked them to do. Right? And we say to them, what's going on here? We've agreed to do this project and it just hasn't happened. And the director for IT said, Mike, we put all the resources in place to do the projects at the start of the year, and then we get drowned by flying fish, by all these other priorities that come at us unexpected, and we haven't got the time or the resource to do both. So we plan to do it, but the flying fish come and we can't start. One of the challenges we had was IBP is really about focusing on the 4-month to 36-month, 4-month to 24-month horizon. We very much struggled in the early stages to get past the issues of today and next week. Because everybody saw the IBP review meeting as an opportunity to talk about, everybody's here now, before we get on with that, let's talk about these issues. We actually had a lot of processes already in place to deal with the immediate issues, the 0 to 90-day issues. It wasn't much more difficult than just mapping those processes out and agreeing with people where those processes happened and where they didn't. Yeah? And what were the agreed inputs and outputs from those processes into the IBP process. Self-assessment and continuous improvement. At the end of each review, we had a very simple process of what's your fist to 5? Could sound quite scary, but it is just out of 5, put your hand up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you score that? We found that very useful. We would have 8, 9 key questions that we would ask, and at the end of that meeting, you'd have a score. And that meant that we could say to people, yeah, we only got 12 out of 30 this cycle, but next time round, let's target on those 2 areas to improve, and we could show each cycle that we're getting better. And it just kept people with the program and stopped them from saying, this just ain't working, we need to do something else. What was also very interesting was if one person would say 5 and another one 2, is it would force that discussion to say, well, why have you given it a 5? Why have you given it a 2? And that helped to get some different insights, some different opinions from what people are seeing, but also to agree on what good looks like, yeah, and do that continuous, ongoing training and re-education. Is it perfect? After 2 years? No, not at all. But it is working for us, and it has been working and delivering results and benefit. And it's now become part of our normal working processes. It's not an additional effort to prepare for the meeting or go to the meeting. And it's really changed the language that we have in the business. So 2 years ago, you would never hear people talk about what is the most likely outcome. What is the truth as we know it? It's helped us to get rid of all of these back pockets and hedging and people not committing one way or the other. It's also helped us to remove the sales teams from being very cautious to put in their opportunities because they didn't want to be held accountable for that if it then didn't work. Because you're only going to be measured not only for, you're not rewarded for overselling or underselling, you're rewarded for making sure there's no bias in the forecast. So we're not consistently over or underestimating it. When we boil IBP down, or S&OP, the process is quite simple. Yep. For us, the hardest part, but also the key to unlocking it, has been changing behaviours, focusing on behaviours, and focusing on the culture. And I guess, do we just instinctively make it harder than it really is? And I think in most cases we probably do. That's it. Any questions or thoughts?
So how do you measure your forecast? Say it's unbiased from the sales team, I like that.
Yes.
How do you actually measure it?
Well, we measure the volume and the value. So we measure the forecast performance in tons or units, and we also measure it in the pounds delivered, the revenue. We look at it from 1 month prior, but also 3 months prior. So we look at different time horizons, and we're able to cut the data by down to different levels of granularity. So we can have total cheese, we could have Cathedral City, we could have Cathedral City in blocks, Cathedral City and everything else. But we can also do it by customer or customer groups. So when it comes to the demand review or the demand surgeries, where demand planning sit down with the sales guys and talk through the forecast and the plans, they're able to start that meeting with, for your forecast, this is your bias, this is your plus or minus accuracy for the last 6 months.
So it's just plus and minus in absolute numbers like tons?
Yes, tons of value or units.
Okay.
Yep. And then the accuracy score, we use the histograms to talk about what percentage of the units were outside of our agreed windows, and what percentage of volume was that. Okay. Yep.
Once you've used those histograms, do you then go into an assessment phase that says what was the cause of those outliers, what was the cause of the variability, and how do we fix that for next time around?
We wouldn't pick every one, but yes, we would do that with some of those to say, and quite often you wouldn't actually need to do every single outlier because the root cause was very often similar. And what it has done is it's driven, we probably started off with, it's not my fault, Gov, the retailer's done it at a different date, or they haven't done the mechanism that we expect them to do. We thought we were going to get end of the gondola end, they've done it from the shelf. Or we thought we were going to get gondola end in all of the Tesco stores, but we've only got it in the first 2 or 3 levels. And this went on for a while, and then we said, you know what, we spend all this money on joint business plans, we spend all the money on paying for those promotions, and actually the one single thing we can do to drive our volume and revenue and profit up is to actually execute the promotions that we've planned to do better.